My name is Madison Carter, and I'm 28 years old. Right now, I'm standing on a red carpet in a Valentino gown, being personally escorted by the CEO of Whitmore and Associates into the most exclusive finance gala of the year. 6 months ago, my own brother told me I wasn't classy enough to attend his year-end party. He said I'd drag down the family's social standing with my polyester work pants and middle-class sensibilities. Tonight, I'm not at his party, I'm at mine. And every person he desperately wanted to impress is here with me instead. Let me tell you how my own brother tried to erase me from our family legacy, and how I built an empire he could only dream of joining. Before we dive into this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. And if you've ever had a family member underestimate you, hit that like button. Subscribe because this revenge story has more twists than a corporate merger. And trust me, you'll want to see how karma works its magic in a family that chose status over loyalty. Tyler and I grew up in an upper-middle-class family in Connecticut. Our father, Martin, was an executive at a mid-sized manufacturing company. Our mother, Patricia, came from old money, though her family's wealth had diminished over generations. She never worked, but she never let anyone forget her lineage either. Our childhood home was comfortable, filled with the kind of aspirational living that came from having enough money to look successful, but not quite enough to stop worrying about it. Tyler is 4 years older than me. He was always the golden child. Charming, social, effortlessly likable. He got his MBA from a decent business school and landed a marketing director position at a luxury retail firm. Everyone in our family talked about Tyler's potential like it was a sure thing. He'd be a CEO someday. He'd marry well. He'd restore our mother's family name to its former glory. I took a different path. I went to State University because I got a full scholarship. I studied accounting because I was good with numbers, and I liked the security of a profession with clear standards. After graduation, I got my CPA certification and started working at a mid-tier accounting firm. The work was steady, honest, and I was good at it. But in my family's eyes, I was the practical one. The boring one. Too serious. Too bookish. Lacking the social grace that apparently mattered more than competence. Growing up, Tyler and I were close. When I was in middle school and dealing with mean girls, Tyler would pick me up after school and take me for ice cream. He'd tell me those girls were jealous, that I was smarter than all of them. When I was applying to colleges, he helped me practice for interviews. When I graduated and was nervous about my first real job, Tyler gave me advice on office politics and introduced me to some of his friends in the business world. I thought he was my best friend. My ally in a family that sometimes felt more concerned with appearances than with actual connection. So naturally, when Tyler needed help, I gave it. When his first startup failed 3 years ago and he was drowning in debt, I lent him $15,000. It took me 2 years to save that money, but he was my brother. When he was job hunting and needed connections, I introduced him to several high-net-worth individuals I'd met through my accounting work. Wealthy people need good accountants, and over the years, I'd built a solid client base of individuals who trusted me with their taxes and financial planning. Tyler used those introductions well. He landed clients for his firm. He got promoted. He started making real money. Then, 2 years ago, everything shifted. Tyler married Alessandra Whitmore. Well, she went by Whitmore, but it was her mother's maiden name. Her actual last name was considerably less impressive. Alessandra came from a family that had once been wealthy, but that wealth was mostly gone now. They had the manners, the connections, the country club memberships maintained through legacy rates, but not much actual money. What they had was desperation to maintain appearances. Alessandra was beautiful in that severe way, all sharp cheekbones and designer clothes that were probably bought on credit. She was obsessed with status. Every conversation somehow circled back to who she knew, what events she attended, which brands she wore. She looked at people and calculated their worth in terms of social currency. After the wedding, I started noticing changes in Tyler. He began making little comments about my appearance. My work clothes were too plain. My car was too practical. Did I really shop at department stores? He'd laugh like it was a joke. But there was an edge to it. Family gatherings became uncomfortable. Alessandra would make observations that felt like insults wrapped in concern. She'd touch my sleeve and say things like, "Oh, cotton blend. How practical," with this smile that didn't reach her eyes. She'd ask if I'd ever considered hiring a stylist, as if my entire existence was a problem that needed professional intervention. The exclusions started small. A family brunch that I only heard about afterward. "Oh, it was last minute. We didn't want to bother you." A dinner party at their new house where the invitation somehow never reached me. Tyler said he'd sent it. Maybe it went to spam? Then came the comments about events. Patricia, our mother, started saying things like, "It's cocktail attire, Madison. You might not be comfortable." Or, "It's more of a networking thing. Probably boring for you." As if I was a child who needed to be protected from adult situations rather than a licensed CPA who dealt with wealthy clients regularly. My best friend Rachel saw it clearly. Rachel and I met in college, and she'd gone on to become a lawyer. She was direct in a way I appreciated, never sugarcoating things. Over coffee one Saturday, about 8 months ago, she'd said, "Madison, your family is pushing you out. You see that, right?" I'd made excuses. Tyler was adjusting to married life. Alessandra was just different from us. My mother had always been a bit status conscious. It wasn't personal. Rachel had given me a look that said I was being willfully blind. "Your brother is using you as a stepping stool and then pretending you're beneath him. Watch." I hadn't wanted to believe her, but I couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. Something had fundamentally changed in how my family saw me. Or maybe, more accurately, Tyler had changed how they saw me, and they'd simply gone along with it. The dinner happened on a cold November evening, 6 months before that red carpet moment. It was at my parents' house, a traditional Sunday family dinner that we'd been having for years. Patricia made roast chicken. Martin opened wine. Tyler and Alessandra arrived late, both dressed like they'd come from somewhere more important. We were barely through the main course when Tyler cleared his throat in that way that meant he had an announcement. Alessandra put down her fork and smiled at him encouragingly. "So," Tyler said, leaning back in his chair with the confidence of someone about to share good news, "Alessandra and I are planning something big for New Year's Eve. We're throwing a year-end party. A real event." Patricia lit up. "Oh, how wonderful. At your house?" "Actually, no," Alessandra said. "We're renting the Ashford estate. You know, the mansion on the water? We're doing it properly. Full catering from Le Bernardin, a string quartet, champagne service, the works." Tyler continued, "This isn't just a party. It's a networking event. I'm inviting key people from the luxury retail sector, some venture capitalists we've been talking to, Alessandra's connections from the country club and museum boards. This could be huge for my career." Our father nodded, impressed. "That sounds like quite an undertaking." "It'll be the event of the season," Alessandra said. "We've already got confirmations from some very important people." I felt excited for them. Tyler and I might have been growing distant, but he was still my brother. I wanted his career to succeed. "What can I bring?" I asked. "And should I invite some of my firm's partners? I work with some people who might be good connections for you." The table went quiet. Tyler and Alessandra exchanged a glance, one of those married couple looks that communicates an entire conversation in a second. "Actually, Madison," Tyler said slowly, I don't think this party is really your scene. I set down my wine glass, confused. What do you mean? He shifted in his seat. And for just a moment, he looked uncomfortable. Then his expression hardened into something that looked almost like pity. I mean, these are people from the luxury industry. Old money families. Serious investors. You're amazing at what you do. But let's face it, you're not exactly classy enough for this crowd. The words hit me like cold water. I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. I'm sorry, what? Alessandra jumped in, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. What Tyler means, darling, is that this event requires a certain level of social sophistication. These people care about presentation, about understanding unspoken social rules. You still wear polyester work pants. You drive a Honda. You wouldn't be comfortable, and honestly, you'd stand out in the wrong way. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to object, to defend me. My father looked down at his plate. My mother, Patricia, reached over and patted my hand like I was a child, being told I couldn't go to the grown-up party. Madison, don't take this personally, Patricia said. Tyler's trying to build important connections. This is about business. My throat felt tight. This is about me not being good enough? It's not about good enough, Tyler said, and now he sounded almost annoyed, like I was being difficult. It's about fit. These people operate in a different world. I need guests who can navigate that world naturally. You're great with numbers, but social situations like this? It's just not your strength. Alessandra nodded sympathetically. You can still come to Christmas dinner. That's family time. But the New Year's Eve party is business, and we need to be strategic about the guest list. I felt something crack open inside my chest. You're uninviting me to your party because I'm not fancy enough? We're not uninviting you, Tyler said. You were never invited. This isn't personal, Mads. I'm just being realistic about what I need to accomplish. I stood up from the table. My hands were shaking. You know what? You're right. I wouldn't be comfortable at your party. I wouldn't be comfortable watching my brother pretend to be someone he's not while surrounding himself with people who judge each other by their jewelry. I left. Nobody followed me. I sat in my practical Honda in my parents' driveway and cried angry, hurt tears. Then I called Rachel. She answered on the second ring. What's wrong? I told her everything. By the time I finished, Rachel was silent for a long moment. Then she said, in that lawyer voice she used when she was furious, let me get this straight. Tyler used your client connections to build his career, and now he's telling you that you're not classy enough to be seen with him? I hadn't thought about it that way, but she was right. 2 years ago, when Tyler had been job hunting, I'd introduced him to several of my accounting clients. Wealthy individuals I'd been doing taxes for. People who trusted me. Tyler had presented himself as doing market research, wanting to understand the luxury consumer. I'd facilitated those meetings because he was my brother and he'd asked for help. 3 of those people had become major clients of his firm. Mrs. Harrison, who I'd been doing taxes for since I started at my firm. Mr. Chen, who owned a chain of high-end hotels. Mrs. Rodriguez, who sat on half a dozen nonprofit boards. Tyler had used my professional relationships to advance his career, and now I wasn't good enough to attend his party. Rachel's voice cut through my thoughts. Madison, listen to me. Your brother is a user. He's not going to change unless someone makes him face consequences. What are you going to do about this? I wiped my eyes. I don't know. Well, figure it out. Because right now, he thinks he can treat you like garbage and you'll just accept it. I drove home that night making a decision. I wasn't going to accept it. I didn't know what I was going to do yet. But I knew one thing for certain. Tyler wanted to play games about social class and who belonged in which circles. Fine. I'd show him exactly what level I was operating on. The Monday after that disastrous dinner, I went to work with a new sense of purpose. I'd spent the weekend doing research, making lists, and mapping out a strategy. If Tyler wanted to climb the social ladder by stepping on me, I'd build my own ladder, a better one. I started with my existing clients. I'd been doing accounting and tax work for high net worth individuals for 5 years. These were people who trusted me with their most sensitive financial information. I knew their income, their investments, their charitable giving, their tax strategies. I'd always kept those relationships strictly professional, doing excellent work and maintaining boundaries. But there was no reason I couldn't expand my services. I called Mrs. Harrison first. She was a widow in her early 60s, sharp as a knife, who'd inherited considerable wealth from her late husband's pharmaceutical business. I'd been doing her taxes for 3 years. "Mrs. Harrison," I said when she picked up, "I'm expanding my practice. I'm offering comprehensive financial planning services, not just tax preparation. Wealth management, investment strategy, estate planning coordination. I wanted to offer you first priority as an existing client." There was a pause. Then she said, "Madison, I've been wondering when you'd do something like this. You're far too competent to just be filling out forms. Let's meet this week." That meeting led to Mrs. Harrison becoming my first wealth management client. She didn't just hire me, she introduced me to 3 of her friends. Within a month, I had 5 high net worth clients who wanted comprehensive financial services. I was working 80-hour weeks. During the day, I handled my regular accounting job. Evenings and weekends, I built my consulting practice. I met with clients, developed financial plans, coordinated with their attorneys and investment advisors. I was exhausted, but I was also energized in a way I hadn't felt in years. Rachel helped me with the legal structure. We set up an LLC for my consulting firm. I called it Carter Financial Strategies. Simple, professional, no pretension. The money part was almost secondary. What I was really building was a reputation. My clients talked. Wealthy people know other wealthy people, and they share recommendations for service providers they trust. By February, I had 10 clients. By March, 15. The combined net worth of my client base was over $50 million. But I wasn't just working. I was learning the social game too, the real version, not Tyler's performative nonsense. Rachel introduced me to her colleague Jonathan, a corporate lawyer who came from actual old money. Not the desperate, fading kind like Alessandra's family, but the quiet, secure kind where wealth was assumed, not announced. Jonathan and I started dating casually, and he brought me into his social circle. Through Jonathan, I started attending charity events. Not as a volunteer, but as a donor. I wrote checks to museums, symphonies, education, nonprofits. Not huge amounts, but consistent, meaningful contributions. I showed up at galas. I sat on committees. I learned that real social capital wasn't about designer labels or name-dropping. It was about showing up, contributing, and being genuinely interested in the work. I also hired an image consultant, but not the kind Alessandra would have chosen. I worked with a woman named Susan who specialized in executive presence for women in finance. She didn't try to turn me into someone else. She helped me present my authentic self more confidently. We upgraded my wardrobe with classic, well-tailored pieces. No flashy logos, no trends. Just quality clothing that fit properly and projected competence. I learned about investment dressing, about building a capsule wardrobe of pieces that would last years. It wasn't about spending the most money. It was about spending wisely. Susan also coached me on networking. How to work a room without looking desperate. How to have meaningful conversations instead of collecting business cards. How to follow up professionally. How to build relationships instead of just contacts. By April, I'd joined the board of a small museum. By May, I was attending events where I was introduced as a financial consultant and board member, not just someone's little sister. And here's what I learned. The people with real wealth and real class, they weren't like Tyler and Alessandra at all. They didn't care about my car or my work pants. They cared about competence, discretion, and whether I could actually help them achieve their financial goals. They valued substance over performance. Mrs. Harrison told me something that stuck with me. We were having coffee after a board meeting, and she said, "Madison, do you know why I trust you with my money? Because you've never tried to impress me. You've just done excellent work and treated me with respect. That's rarer than you'd think." It was during one of these conversations that I learned something interesting about Tyler's situation. Mrs. Harrison's husband, Edmund, was a venture capitalist. He was semi-retired but still did some investing. Tyler had approached him months ago, trying to get investment for some expansion plan at his firm. Tyler told Edmund that I'd recommended his firm. Mrs. Harrison mentioned casually, "But you never did you?" My stomach dropped. No. I would never make a professional recommendation without being certain it was sound. Tyler and I don't work in the same field. Mrs. Harrison nodded. I thought so. Edmund passed on the investment. Your brother's pitch was all style, no substance. Edmund said he seemed more interested in looking successful than in actually building something solid. This was when I started investigating. Over the next few weeks, I quietly reached out to the other clients I'd originally introduced to Tyler, Mr. Chen, Mrs. Rodriguez, and 2 others. The pattern was clear. Tyler had told all of them that I'd recommended his firm's services. He'd used my credibility to open doors, then presented himself as if he'd earned those relationships on his own merit. In some cases, he'd even told these people that I'd moved on to other things, that I couldn't handle their level of business anymore, and that he was the better choice for their needs. He'd systematically used my professional reputation to build his career, then tried to cut me out of the picture entirely. When I told Rachel what I'd discovered, she was ready to help me sue him for misrepresentation. But I had a different idea forming, a better one. Tyler's year-end party was still months away, but I was already planning my response. At this point in the story, I need to pause and tell you something. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, if you've ever had to rebuild yourself after someone tried to tear you down, drop a comment. I want to hear your story. And if you're invested in seeing how this revenge plan unfolds, hit that subscribe button because the next part is where everything comes together. The party night is coming, and trust me, Tyler had no idea what was about to hit him. By November, 6 months after Tyler had told me I wasn't classy enough, my consulting firm had 22 clients. The combined assets I was managing had crossed $100 million. Carter Financial Strategies wasn't just a side business anymore. It was becoming a legitimate wealth management firm. The game-changing moment came in early November. I was approached by Whitmore and Associates, a prestigious wealth management firm that had been watching my work. They wanted to discuss a partnership. Not them absorbing me, but a genuine partnership where I'd bring my client base and consulting approach, and they'd provide infrastructure, additional resources, and their reputation. It was the kind of opportunity that usually took people 15 years to reach. I was 28. We negotiated through November. By mid-December, we had a deal. The partnership would be announced at a New Year's Eve event. They'd handle the venue and logistics. I'd invite my clients and key professional contacts. It would be an intimate, sophisticated evening to launch this new phase of the firm. That's when I learned that Tyler's party was the same night. And that's when my plan crystallized completely. Through Mrs. Harrison, I discovered that Tyler's elaborate party wasn't coming from a place of strength. His firm was struggling. The luxury retail sector had been hit hard by economic shifts. High-end consumer spending was down. Tyler's company was facing pressure, and he was desperate to attract investors and new clients. The party wasn't a celebration, it was a last-ditch networking effort. Tyler needed this event to succeed. He needed to impress people, to project success, to convince potential investors that his firm was worth their money. And he'd built his entire guest list around people I knew: Mrs. Harrison and Edmund, Mr. Chen, Mrs. Rodriguez, board members from the museum, executives from firms where I had contacts. Tyler had spent months trying to cultivate relationships with these people, not realizing that many of them already knew me, worked with me, or trusted me professionally. When I told Rachel about my New Year's Eve event, she started laughing. "You're throwing a party the same night as Tyler's?" "I'm not throwing anything," I said. "Whitmore and Associates is hosting a partnership announcement. I'm just inviting my clients and professional contacts. It happens to be the same night." Rachel grinned. "This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect." I didn't tell my family about my event. When Patricia called in mid-December to confirm I was coming to Christmas dinner, she mentioned Tyler's party again. "He's put so much work into this, Madison. I hope you're not still upset about not being invited." "I'm not upset at all," I said truthfully. "I have my own plans for New Year's Eve." "Oh? What are you doing?" "Just a work event. Nothing exciting." That was technically true. To my mother, anything involving my job was boring. She had no idea what I'd built. Christmas dinner was awkward. Tyler and Alessandra were there, both tense. They'd clearly been arguing. Alessandra's smile was brittle, and Tyler kept checking his phone. "How's the party planning going?" I asked politely. Tyler looked up, surprised I'd brought it up. "Good. Really good. We've got a solid guest list. Should be a great event." "I'm sure it will be," I said. Alessandra studied me with suspicious eyes. "You're not still bitter about it, are you?" "It really wasn't personal." "Not bitter at all," I said. "I hope you have a wonderful time." Later, my father pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Madison, I know November was uncomfortable. Your mother and I should have said something." Tyler was out of line. "It's fine, Dad." "Really? You seem different lately," he said. "More confident. It's good to see." "I've just been focusing on work," I told him. "It's going well." "I'm glad. And I'm sorry we didn't stand up for you." Martin looked genuinely regretful. "We got caught up in Tyler's narrative about building connections. We should have remembered that you're just as capable as he is. More, probably." I appreciated that, but it was too little, too late. The damage was done. My family had shown me where I stood in their priorities. I didn't need their validation anymore. The week between Christmas and New Year's Eve was a blur. Final preparations for the partnership announcement. Confirming details with Whitmore and Associates. Making sure my clients had received their invitations and were planning to attend. Mrs. Harrison called me 3 days before New Year's. "Madison, dear, I received 2 invitations for New Year's Eve. One from you, one from your brother's event. I'm assuming you know they're the same night?" "I did know that," I said. There was a smile in her voice. "And I'm assuming you'd like me to choose yours?" "I'd never ask you to do that, Mrs. Harrison. You should go wherever you'd prefer." She laughed. "Darling, I've known your brother for 2 years. I've known you for 5. I've watched you build something real while he's been performing success. There's no question where I'll be. Edmund and I will both be at your event. And I suspect several other people on your brother's guest list will make the same choice." She was right. Over the next 2 days, I learned that at least 8 of the people Tyler had invited were planning to attend my event instead. Some of them I'd invited directly. Others had heard about it through the network and had asked Whitmore for invitations. Tyler had no idea his carefully planned networking event was about to be gutted by his little sister's work event. New Year's Eve arrived. I spent the morning at a salon, getting my hair and makeup done. Professional, elegant, nothing overdone. I'd chosen a navy silk gown, simple and beautifully cut. No flashy jewelry, just pearl earrings my grandmother had left me. Jonathan picked me up at 6. "You look stunning," he said. "Ready for this?" "More than ready," I told him. The venue was an art gallery in the city, a space Whitmore and Associates often used for events. Soft lighting, modern art on the walls, a jazz trio setting up in the corner. Catering was elegant but not showy. Champagne and wine, beautifully prepared food. Everything first class but understated. Guests started arriving at 7. My clients came first, warm greetings and congratulations on the partnership. Then board members from the museum, colleagues from professional organizations, executives I'd met through networking events over the past months. Mrs. Harrison arrived with Edmund, both dressed impeccably. They made their way straight to me. "Madison, this is lovely. Congratulations on the partnership." "Thank you for being here," I said. "We wouldn't miss it," Edmund said. "Your brother called me yesterday, actually. Asked if we were still planning to attend his event tonight. I told him we had other commitments." By 8, the gallery was full. The managing partner of Whitmore and Associates, a distinguished man named Richard Chen, called for everyone's attention. He gave a brief speech about the firm's history, their commitment to personalized wealth management, and their excitement about bringing me on as a partner. Then it was my turn. I kept it brief. I thanked my clients for trusting me. I thanked Whitmore and Associates for this opportunity. I talked about my vision for combining rigorous financial planning with genuine relationship building. The room applauded. People came up afterward to congratulate me, to ask about services, to exchange business cards. This wasn't just a party. It was the launch of the next phase of my career. And somewhere across town, Tyler's party was starting to fall apart. I was talking with a potential client, a woman who sat on several corporate boards, when I noticed a commotion near the entrance. The gallery manager looked flustered, trying to handle something. Then I saw them, Tyler, Alessandra, and my parents, standing at the entrance without invitations, looking around the gallery with expressions ranging from shock to fury. Tyler spotted me and started walking over, weaving through guests with Alessandra right behind him. My parents followed more slowly, looking confused and out of place. "Madison," Tyler said when he reached me, his voice tight. "We need to talk." I excused myself from my conversation and turned to face my brother. "Tyler, you're not on the guest list." "What is this?" He gestured around the gallery. "What are you doing?" "Hosting my own year-end event," I said calmly. "You told me I wasn't classy enough for yours, remember? So I made other plans." Alessandra's face was flushed with anger. "This is pathetic. You're trying to compete with us?" "No competition," I said. "Just different circles." Mrs. Harrison approached, champagne glass in hand. "Madison, darling, the partnership announcement was wonderful." "Oh, hello, Tyler." She turned to him with polite coolness. "Mrs. Harrison," Tyler said, clearly thrown off. "I didn't know you knew my sister well. She's been doing our family's taxes and financial planning for years," Mrs. Harrison said. "Far more competent than certain people who tried pitching us recently." She gave Tyler a pointed look. Edmund joined his wife, nodding at Tyler. "Tyler, wasn't it? You told us Madison recommended your firm." "She never did she?" Tyler's face went red. I stammered something, but Mrs. Harrison had already moved on, taking my arm. "Madison, introduce me to the Whitmore partners. I'm thinking of moving more assets under management." As she led me away, I heard Alessandra hiss at Tyler. "You said you had these people locked in." My father, Martin, had been watching this exchange. He caught my eye across the room, and I saw recognition dawning on his face. He was starting to understand the scale of what I'd built. Patricia, my mother, looked around the gallery with confusion. She approached one of my colleagues, someone she recognized from years ago. "Diane? Is that you? What are you doing here?" Diane, who was now a senior partner at a major accounting firm, smiled. "I'm here for Madison's event. The partnership announcement. You must be so proud. Your daughter has built something remarkable." Patricia looked lost. "Partnership?" Over the next 30 minutes, my family wandered through my event like confused tourists in a foreign country. They watched me interact with clients, board members, executives. They overheard conversations about assets under management, investment strategies, philanthropic planning. Tyler pulled me aside near the coat check. His face was pale. "These are my contacts," he said. "You stole my business." "Your contacts?" I kept my voice level. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison were my clients first. Mrs. Rodriguez, I met at a CPA conference 3 years ago. Mr. Chen's family, I've been doing their taxes since I started at my first firm. Nobody here came from you, Tyler. They came because I invited them, because I have professional relationships with them. "You're sabotaging me," he said. "This is the same night as my party." "Your party was busy," I said. "I had my own plans. It's a free country." Alessandra joined us, her voice venomous. "You did this out of spite." "I did this out of ambition," I said. "Something you accused me of lacking. Remember? Not classy enough? Too middle class? Dragging the family down?" Tyler's jaw clenched. "You can't just reinvent yourself and pretend you're one of these people." "I'm not pretending," I said quietly. "I built a legitimate business. These people respect competence, not performance. They don't care about rented mansions or catering from trendy restaurants. They care about whether I can actually help them achieve their financial goals. And I can." "You think you're better than us now," Alessandra spat. "No," I said. "I just finally realized I was never less than you. You both just needed me to believe I was." Martin approached, having extricated himself from an awkward conversation with one of my museum board colleagues. "Madison, can we talk privately?" I led him to a quieter corner of the gallery. "Why didn't you tell us?" he asked. "About all this? The consulting firm? The clients? The partnership?" I looked at my father, this man who'd stayed silent when Tyler insulted me, who'd let my mother make excuses for exclusion. "Would you have believed me?" I asked. "Or would you have thought I was showing off, getting above myself, not knowing my place?" He flinched. "We were wrong. I was wrong." "Yes," I said. "You were. Your brother was out of line at that dinner," Martin continued. "We should have said something then. We should have defended you. But you didn't," I said. "You let him tell me I wasn't good enough, and you said nothing. So I stopped caring what any of you thought. And I built this." I gestured around the gallery. "I'm proud of you," he said. "Thank you," I said. "But I didn't do this for your pride. I did it because I'm good at what I do, and I deserved better than being treated like an embarrassment." Tyler and Alessandra left shortly after that. My mother followed them, still looking confused. My father stayed a bit longer, watching me work the room, slowly understanding just how much he'd underestimated his daughter. When the event wrapped up around 11, Richard Chen pulled me aside. "Madison, that was perfect. Several people have already reached out about bringing on new assets. This partnership is going to be very successful." I felt a wave of satisfaction that had nothing to do with Tyler. This was about me, about what I'd built, about proving to myself that I was capable of more than anyone in my family had imagined. Jonathan drove me home after midnight. "You handled that beautifully," he said. "Your brother looked like he'd been hit by a truck." "I didn't do it to hurt him," I said. "I did it because he hurt me, and I refused to let that define me." "Either way," Jonathan said, "I think you just changed your entire family dynamic." He was right. But the real changes were just beginning. The next morning, New Year's Day, my phone started buzzing early. Text messages from Tyler, from my mother, from Alessandra. I ignored them all and went for a run. When I got back, Rachel was calling. "Have you seen social media?" she asked. "I haven't looked," I said. "Check Tyler's wife's account," Rachel said. "You're going to want to see this." I pulled up Alessandra's social media. She'd posted a long, passive-aggressive rant about family betrayal, about people who sabotage others out of jealousy, about the importance of loyalty. She didn't name me directly, but it was obvious. The comments were interesting. Several people had apparently figured out the context. Someone had written, "Wasn't she at an event last night, too? Her consulting firm thing?" Another comment said, "If she built a successful business, how is that betrayal?" Tyler had also posted, "Something vague about fake people and true colors." It was petty and transparent. I didn't respond. I didn't post anything. I just went about my day. But over the next few weeks, I learned what had happened at Tyler's party. Through mutual contacts, through my father, through the general gossip network that exists in any social circle. Tyler's event had started strong. The rented mansion looked impressive. The catering was expensive. The quartet played beautifully, but the guest list was thin. Many of the key people Tyler had been counting on had either not shown up or had left early, making excuses about other commitments. Without the impressive guests, the party felt empty. Tyler had spent a fortune on an event that was supposed to attract investors and clients, but the people he needed to impress weren't there. They were at my event instead. The professional fallout was worse. Word got around in business circles about Tyler's misrepresentation tactics. Mrs. Harrison, who was well-connected and respected, mentioned to several people that Tyler had falsely claimed her endorsement. Edmund, the venture capitalist, told colleagues that Tyler had misrepresented his relationship with me to seem more connected than he was. In the corporate world, reputation is everything. And Tyler's reputation was damaged. By February, his firm had downsized. Tyler was demoted from marketing director to senior manager. The pay cut was significant. The prestige loss was worse. Alessandra's family, who had been helping them financially despite their own declining wealth, cut them off. They were embarrassed by the failed party, by the social media drama, by Tyler's professional problems. Tyler and Alessandra's marriage began to crack. I heard through my mother that they were fighting constantly. Alessandra had married Tyler for his potential, for the life she thought he could provide. Now that potential looked questionable. In March, Tyler called me. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Madison," he said, his voice strained. "I need help. Can you loan me money?" I felt a cold anger rise in my chest. "You told me I was middle class and dragging the family down. I'm sure you can handle your financial situation at your level. Please," he said. "I'm your brother. Brothers protect each other," I said. "You used me, discarded me, and insulted me. You told people I couldn't handle high-level work and that you were the better option. You damaged my professional reputation to benefit yourself. So, no, Tyler. I don't owe you anything." I hung up. My mother tried to intervene. We were at a family dinner, one I'd almost skipped, when Patricia brought it up. "Madison, I know Tyler hurt you, but he's struggling. Can't you find it in yourself to help him? We're family." I set down my fork. Mom, Tyler didn't just hurt my feelings. He actively sabotaged my professional reputation. He told my clients that I couldn't handle their business anymore. He used my credentials to legitimize himself and then tried to erase me from the picture. That's not a family squabble. That's calculated professional harm. Martin, my father, spoke up. "Patricia, Madison's right. This isn't about a loan or about hurt feelings. Tyler made serious professional mistakes. He needs to face the consequences. But he's family, Patricia insisted. So am I said. And when Tyler decided I wasn't classy enough to be seen with him, when he cut me out of family events, when he told people I was holding the family back, where was this family loyalty then? You all went along with it. You made excuses for him and implied that I was overreacting when I was hurt. So don't ask me to sacrifice myself again just because Tyler's facing consequences for his own actions. Patricia looked stung. I never meant for you to feel that way. But I did, I said. And Tyler created that situation deliberately. He made a choice to elevate himself by diminishing me. I'm not responsible for cleaning up his mess. Tyler, who was also at this dinner, had been silent. Now he spoke, his voice bitter. You could have been gracious. Instead, you rubbed our faces in it. I turned to him. I didn't rub anything. I lived my life. I built a business. I succeeded at what I'm good at. The fact that you see my success as a personal attack on you says everything about your character and nothing about mine. Alessandra, who was still technically married to Tyler but clearly looking for an exit, added her own poison. You could have helped family. Instead, you chose revenge. I chose myself, I said. For the first time in years, I chose what was best for me instead of sacrificing for Tyler's benefit. If that looks like revenge to you, maybe examine why you think I owe my brother more than I owe myself. The dinner ended early. Patricia was in tears, convinced I was being cruel. Martin looked tired, caught between wanting to support me and wanting to keep peace. Tyler looked defeated. Alessandra looked calculating, probably already planning her divorce strategy. I went home feeling lighter than I had in months. I'd said what needed to be said. I'd set boundaries. And I'd made it clear that I wasn't going to subsidize Tyler's recovery from problems he'd created. 6 months after that New Year's Eve, my life looked completely different. Carter Financial Strategies, now operating in partnership with Whitmore and Associates, had grown to 35 clients. I'd hired 2 junior consultants to help with the workload. We'd expanded to a proper office space with a conference room and everything. I was featured in a financial industry magazine in a piece about rising stars in wealth management. The article talked about my approach to financial planning, my focus on building genuine client relationships, and my rapid growth in a competitive field. The magazine feature led to speaking invitations. I presented at 2 industry conferences, talking about modernizing wealth management for younger, high-net-worth individuals. The speaking engagements led to more clients and more professional credibility. I joined 2 more boards, both focused on financial literacy and women's economic empowerment. I was building not just a career, but a professional identity that felt authentic and meaningful. My relationship with Jonathan had deepened into something serious. He was supportive without being patronizing, successful without being competitive. We talked about moving in together. My relationship with my family was slowly rebuilding, at least with my father. Martin started making real efforts. He attended one of my speaking engagements, sitting in the back of the room and watching me present. Afterward, he'd said, "I never realized how good you are at this. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." My mother was more complicated. Patricia struggled with the shift in family dynamics. She'd spent so many years invested in Tyler's success that my success felt like a personal failure on her part. But she was trying. She invited me to lunch occasionally. She stopped making comments about my appearance or my choices. It wasn't warm, but it was no longer hostile. Tyler's situation had stabilized at a lower level. He'd taken a job at a smaller firm, less prestigious, less well-paid, but more stable than his previous situation. He'd moved to a modest apartment. He was, by all accounts, living within his means for the first time in years. Alessandra had filed for separation in April. The divorce was progressing. She'd already moved on to dating someone else, someone with a more reliable income stream. Tyler started therapy. My father mentioned this to me in passing, saying that Tyler was working through some things. I was glad for him, genuinely, but his healing process wasn't my responsibility. In early summer, Tyler reached out via email. Not asking for anything, just a message. "I'm not asking for help," he wrote. "Just want to say I'm sorry. I was wrong. You deserved respect and I didn't give it. I let Alessandra's obsession with status infect how I saw you, how I saw myself. I treated you terribly. I don't expect forgiveness. Just wanted you to know I see it now. I understand what I did." I didn't respond immediately. I sat with that email for a week, thinking about what I wanted from this relationship, if anything. Finally, I wrote back, "Thank you for the apology. I appreciate you acknowledging the harm. I'm not ready to rebuild what we had. Maybe someday. But I'm glad you're working on yourself." It wasn't forgiveness, exactly. But it was acknowledgement that healing takes time. By October, nearly a year after that devastating dinner, my life had settled into a new normal. A normal where I was confident in my abilities, surrounded by people who respected me, building something meaningful. Thanksgiving approached, and Patricia called to invite me to family dinner. "Tyler will be there," she said. "I want you to know that up front. But I'd really like you to come. It's been too long since we were all together." I thought about it, talked it over with Rachel and Jonathan. Finally decided I was strong enough to handle it. Thanksgiving was awkward at first. Tyler was quieter, humbler. We made small talk about work, about the weather, about safe topics. Partway through dinner, Tyler said, "Madison, I read the magazine feature. Your firm's growth is really impressive." "Thank you," I said. "I mean it," he continued. "I'm sorry for everything. I was an idiot." "Yes, you were," I said. He almost smiled. "I don't expect us to be close again. Just wanted you to know I see it now. What I did, how wrong I was." "I appreciate that," I said. It wasn't a warm reunion. But it was a start. A tentative acknowledgement that maybe, with a lot of time and work, we could rebuild some kind of relationship. But even more than that reconciliation, what mattered was that I'd proven something to myself. That I was capable, competent, and worthy of respect. That I didn't need my family's validation to know my own worth. Tyler's insult had been meant to diminish me. Instead, it had freed me to become more than I'd ever imagined. 1 year after Tyler told me I wasn't classy enough. Exactly 1 year. I was standing on a red carpet again, this time for the Forbes 30 Under 30 in Finance Awards. I was being honored as one of the rising leaders in wealth management. The venue was stunning. A historic hotel ballroom, chandeliers. The kind of elegant event that Tyler had always aspired to but never quite reached. I wore a charcoal silk gown, elegant and understated. My hair was simple, my jewelry minimal. I looked like exactly who I was. A confident professional who'd earned her place. Richard Chen from Whitmore & Associates was my guest. Our partnership had grown beyond anyone's expectations. We now managed over $200 million in assets. I'd built a team of 5 consultants. We were opening a second office. When my name was called, I walked on stage to accept the award. The applause felt surreal. I gave a brief speech, thanking my clients, my team, my mentors. I talked about the importance of competence over performance, of building real value instead of just appearances. "What's your advice for other young professionals?" the interviewer asked. "Never let someone else's limited vision of you become your own," I said. When someone tells you you're not enough, don't shrink to fit their expectations. Build something so undeniable that their opinion becomes irrelevant. The audience applauded. After the ceremony, people approached me to network, to exchange cards. to ask about my firm's approach. It was genuine connection, real professional respect. Later that night, back in my apartment, I saw that Tyler had texted, "Congratulations. Truly. You earned every bit of it." I replied simply, "Thank you. How are you?" "Rebuilding. Slowly. Got promoted back to director level at my firm. It's honest work." "Good for you," I typed back. "Maybe coffee sometime?" He wrote, "No agenda. Just siblings." I stared at that message for a long time. "Maybe," I finally wrote. I didn't know if Tyler and I would ever fully rebuild our relationship. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But I'd stopped needing that resolution. I'd built a life that didn't require his approval or his presence. Rachel came over later with champagne. To my best friend, the Forbes honoree, the woman who proved everyone wrong. We toasted. I thought about the journey. About that horrible dinner where Tyler had said I wasn't classy enough. About the months of hard work, building my business, proving my worth. About the New Year's Eve where everything had come together. "Class isn't about money," I said to Rachel, or designer labels or fake social circles. It's about integrity, competence, and treating people with respect. "Tyler's party was somewhere he didn't belong," Rachel said. "Your party was exactly where you built yourself to be." And that made all the difference. I agreed. I looked out over the city from my apartment window. I'd built something real. Something that couldn't be taken away or diminished by anyone else's insecurity. I'd proven, mostly to myself, that I was capable of far more than my family had imagined. Tyler had tried to erase me from the family legacy. Instead, he'd freed me to build my own. The next morning, I went into the office early. I had a meeting with a potential client, a tech entrepreneur who'd recently sold his company. Then a conference call with a nonprofit board. Then lunch with Jonathan to celebrate the award. My calendar was full. My business was thriving. My life was mine. Tyler's words that night, "You're not classy enough," had been meant to hurt me, to put me in my place, to make me small. Instead, they'd been the catalyst for the best year of my life. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a family member or someone close try to hold you back, only for their doubt to push you forward? Have you ever built something amazing just to prove to yourself that you could? Drop your stories in the comments. I read every single one. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt underestimated or dismissed, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel because I share real stories about family dynamics, career challenges, and finding your own path when others try to define it for you. Share this video with anyone who needs a reminder that other people's limitations don't have to become your reality. And remember, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building something so authentic and successful that their opinion stops mattering. Thank you for being here, for listening to my story, and for being part of this community. I hope whatever challenges you're facing, you find the strength to build your own success on your own terms. Because at the end of the day, you don't need anyone's permission to be extraordinary. You just need to believe in yourself enough to try.